This is He Knows the Sport, bringing you that heat and that fire. I see folks got misinterpreted or misconstrued about what I said in the last videos about Errol the True Spence. Let me explain something to you guys. And now you see a bunch of channels basically sneak this and He Knows the Sport. And you know how you could tell they sneak this and He Knows the Sport? Because they're using He Knows the Sport's vernacular. When they sit there and they say, when I sit here and I say, he who is without sin be the first to cast a stone. Let me say it again. He who is without sin be the first to cast a stone. When I say this, people get hot and bothered like grits. They're thinking in their dodo head and their brain full of mush and their brainwash mindset that I'm sitting here and saying that Errol the True Spence is inexcusable. That's why I say people don't listen to what I have to say. They just quickly hit a thumbs down, or they're quick to make comments. You know what I'm saying? What you get with a lot of folks is they're quick to speak, you know what I'm saying, slow to listen. Let me say it again. They're quick to speak and slow to listen. This is a message I try to teach everyone. Regardless if you was on lives with me together, regardless if we used to do collabs together, regardless if, you know what I'm saying, we do collabs now or we do lives now, the message I teach people is be slow to speak and quick to listen. Let me say it again. Be slow to speak and quick to listen. I'm giving you guys biblical stuff here. Because the problem is people don't listen to the totality of the videos that I say. Because I always cover every freaking base. That's what makes He Knows the Sport rare. A unique breed here on this YouTube world. There's nobody like me and there never will be nobody like me. Let me say it again. There's nobody like me and there never will be nobody like me. Because even in the soliloquies that I say, I always have substance in what I say. Let me say it again. Even in the soliloquies that I say, I always have substance in what I said. I didn't excuse Errol the True Spence from drinking and driving. Anyone that does that is a classic Doden or troglodyte. Anyone that does that is a Rudy Poon or plum brain. Anyone that does that is an ultra fanboy with an ultra fanboy rhetoric. I basically said that Errol the True Spence has some growing up to do. I don't know why people didn't hear that. They won't even. That's why I say people have selective hearing, or they don't hear at all. Let me say it again. People have selective hearing, or they don't hear at all. But the He Knows the Sport family, the He Knows the Sport movement, the He Knows the Sport lifestyle folks understand what He Knows the Sport says, because there's substance in what I say. No one will excuse anyone that drinks and drives. And if I do that, then I'm an idiot myself. I didn't excuse that behavior. I said that Errol the True Spence needs to be held accountable for that. But I'm not going to beat the man up for it. There's plenty of channels and plenty of Rudy Poor and plum brains, plenty of classic Dolce and troglodytes, plenty of ultra fanboys with the ultra fanboy rhetoric that are doing this. What He Knows the Sport is going to do is He Knows the Sport is going to give Errol the True Spence support. When I say support, it's not supporting the behavior of drinking and driving. I don't support that. Who would support anything like that? That's foolery. That's nonsensical. When I say support the guy in the sense of we all in life make mistakes. We all in life have vices, man. This is the stuff that I'm trying to tell people when I say he who is without sin be the first to cast a stone. We all in life have done some fucked up shit. So who are we to sit here and take our stones and cast it upon someone? Like I said before, if I do a background check on your ass, because I used to do PI work, trust and believe the skeletons that I can find in people's closets, it will make people look so freaking stupid. And these are the motherfuckers that sit here talking about Errol the True Spence. I done gave you an example. You got Sergey Kovalev. He's done recurring behaviors of beating women up. And then not only beating women up, beating a woman's dog up on top of that. No one talks about that. They sweep that shit under the damn rug. Remember, this is recurring behaviors. Errol the True Spence had one big gaffe. It's a gaffe, nevertheless. It's a hiccup. It's a major hiccup. No one's excusing that. I'm actually disappointed in what I'm seeing from Errol the True Spence in that aspect, in terms of the drinking and driving component. I don't have a problem with him saying that I'm a savage and all of that, because I understand he's speaking from a place of confidence. You know what I'm saying? He's speaking from a place of haters, trolls, and all of this other stuff. Now it's come out where Earl the True Spence said that he didn't say that didn't come from him. It came from somebody else. Well, Earl the True Spence hasn't done something so far out of his own mouth or his own vernacular where he's made me second guess him. So if he said someone else did it or someone else said it, then I'm going to hold him to his word, because he hasn't let me down from that aspect of it. So it didn't even come from him. And it's funny how if something didn't even come from the man, people are running with it. Why are people not holding this man at face value? Is it because of the fact that he has the worst bedbug haters and trolls like he knows his sport? Is it because this guy, you know what I'm saying, moves the thumb and the needle of the welterweight division and people can't stand that? Is it because this guy is a guy that people just love to hate? Because like I've told you before, haters and trolls are what we would say, they're basically, you know what I'm saying, what I would say, addicted to success. Let me say it again. Haters and trolls are addicted to success, in so much so that they want that success, but they can't get it themselves. Let me say it again. They want that success, but they can't get it themselves. So they are addicted to it by others who are successful. And that's what we're dealing with the dichotomy of Earl the True Spence. I'm not going to sit here and excuse the man's behavior. I will never do that. He has some shit that he need to get together, especially at this elite level of boxing, because the Terrence Bud Crawford fight, which is a fight that I have Earl the True Spence at his best, systematically breaking Terrence Bud Crawford down and punishing him. Well, with these recent behaviors, I can't say that anymore, because Terrence Bud Crawford is that type of fighter that Earl the True Spence has to be at his best. I told you, at this level, he's going to have to be at his best if he's going to fight a Terrence Bud Crawford, a Canelo Alvarez. You can't go into those fights and not be your best, because you're not going to win those fights. Let me say it again. This is coming from the biggest Earl the True Spence fan. Ain't nobody a bigger Earl the True Spence fan than me. And I'm saying this. So if I say it, then it's law. Let me say it again. If I say it, it's fucking law. If Earl the True Spence is not his fucking best, then he's not going to beat Terrence Bud Crawford. He's not going to beat Canelo Alvarez. When I think of him beating a Canelo Alvarez or Terrence Bud Crawford, it's because of Earl the True Spence being in the full iteration of tactical aggression, technical punching placement, and body snatching work, the levying onslaught of the punishment style. This is why I find it comical that people gloss over what I said and selectively heard what they wanted to hear. But this is reminiscent of folks. He knows the sport has done this. Cats that he's ethered and murked on lives that, you know what I'm saying, they only hear what they want to hear, and then he knows the sport has to get them to hear what they're supposed to hear and give them the full totality of stuff. And then you have all of these other, you know what I'm saying, people in my comment section, the bedbug haters and trolls. You know what I'm saying? They just hear what they want to hear. And I could tell they didn't hear the full message because of the type of response that they've given to me. Either they're just losing brain cells, you know what I'm saying? Or either their neuron receptors are not clicking and on all cylinders, or it's just the fact that, you know what I'm saying, they choose to just want to hear what they want to hear. But I've mentioned that in multiple videos. I don't excuse that behavior. I don't excuse anyone that does drinking and driving. Anyone that does that excuses that type of behavior is juvenile. They're a minor. They're just, you know, they don't get it. You know what I'm saying? They're just an idiot. So I would never excuse behaviors like that. Clearly, Earl the True Spence has an issue. But I'm not going to be the one to beat him upside the head about it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to exhort the brother. I'm going to encourage the brother. And I'm going to say, look, man, we get it. You got an issue. Now, take time out, you know what I'm saying, to do some soul searching. Take time out to do some what we call critical thinking and figure out what you want to do in the next phase of your life. This is what He Knows the Sport would advise him to do. But see, people are sitting here thinking that because He Knows the Sport has Earl the True Spence back, that I'm not also, because I have his back, I'm not also going to point out things that I think he needs to work on. Of course, I'm going to point out the things that I think he needs to work on. He needs to work on this. If he's going to be at this elite level of boxing, he needs to clean this shit up. But at the same time, it's not my place to sit there and beat the man upside the head for it. Because he has plenty of people doing that, and they do a great job at that because they have insecure and miserable as fuck lives. Me, what I'm going to do is support the guy and hope and pray that he could rebound from this situation and move on and become a bigger and better person from this. You know, like I said, the situation itself is already beating him down. He got into a fatal accident. He got a few broken teeth. You know what I'm saying? He has facial lacerations. I'm sure him looking at himself in the mirror every day is a reminiscent of that accident because of the injuries that he has. Let me say it again. I'm sure him looking at his own face each and every day in the mirror is reminiscent of him basically having what we call self-exhortation, self-encouragement. So I don't need to do what he's already doing with himself. Errol the Truth Spence shows me that he's a smart individual. He shows me that he is a guy that can make wise decisions when he's capable of making wise decisions. But here's the thing. Even as smart and wise individuals, we all have vices in this life. This is why I was trying to tell people when I say the term, he who is without sin be the first to cast a stone. This is an irrefutable argument because everyone is sinful. So because everyone is sinful, people can't be throwing stones. What they need to be doing is saying, okay, we realize there's an issue, and we realize that you need help, and we realize that you need to come over this, right? And get on the north side of this instead of on the south side, because if you keep letting this continue to happen, then it's going to cause a rippling effect or an adverse effect that you can't really rehab from. We realize this. So what are you going to do with it now? Well, what's your face right now? What are you going to do to turn things around? That's a question that Errol the Truth Spence has to deal with himself. I'm sure he's dealing with that within himself. So why does he need Hino's support, or why does he need anybody else to beat him upside the head for something that he's already doing? And then to add any extra motivation, he has Errol Spence Sr. He has his mom, and he has his family members, and those that are around him that are not afraid to talk to him sternly and tell him, look, man, you're going to have to make some changes with your circle. You're going to have to make some changes with people that's around you. You're just going to have to make some changes overall. Because Errol the Truth Spence is a special fighter. The last thing I would want to see is a special fighter of his caliber go like this. Let me say it again. The last thing I want to see is a special fighter like Errol the Truth Spence caliber to go like this. I actually want well for him. But I'm not going to fall this train. Oh, if you love him, you should beat him upside the head. You should be a Bible thumper. You should bust him up. No, I'm not going to do that. Only classic dolts and troglodytes do that. Only Rudy Poo and Plum Plum Brains do that. Only ultra fanboys with the ultra fanboy rhetoric do that. But when you truly love and you truly have, you know what I'm saying, adoration, and you truly have what we call respect for somebody, then what you do is you exhort them. You encourage them, right? And then you turn around and you say, look, man, I want to see what's best for you. Because I see myself in Errol the Truth Spence. Y'all want to keep it a buck here? The reason why I like Errol the Truth Spence so much, and he's a favorite fighter of mine, is I see a lot of myself in him in terms of what he's capable of in terms of being special. And I want to see him get to his full potential. And in order for him to materialize that full potential, he's going to have to continuously, you know what I'm saying, be his biggest critic. And when you are a person that's like that, like me, I'm always my biggest critic. And no criticism that you get after that can compete with your own criticisms, because your own criticisms are already the highest form of critics. You know what I'm saying? So this is what Errol the Truth Spence is going to have to do. If there's any advice I would give him, it would be that. For him to work on himself, you know what I'm saying? Do some soul searching, do some self-reflection, do some critical thinking, you know what I'm saying? And then come back bigger, stronger, and on the north side of this situation. And once he's able to do this, then he's going to be a bigger and better fighter. Because we know the skill set is there. We know the greatness is there. And we know him as a special fighter is there. But again, you don't have to do this thing where you beat somebody upside the head, or you supposedly, if you love the person, you would tell him the truth. No. If you support somebody and you exhort them, you just be there for them. This is what people don't realize. This is what mature, and I'm talking about a remnant, a small remnant of mature adults do. People don't want, when they're going through something, I'm going to teach you guys something real quick. When people are going through something, they don't want people beating them upside the head about them. Let me say it again. When people are going through some shit, and that's the problem with a lot of people, they don't understand this. You know what I'm saying? He knows sport is a rare breed. He's a Renaissance man. So he gets this. I had to learn this myself through life, but I figured it out. So I'm going to give y'all a gem. When someone is going through something, you don't beat them upside the head. What you do is you be there for them. And then when the time comes to have a conversation, then you have it. Whew. What I said was so deep and profound. Let me rewind it because it needs to marinate in the corpus callosum and in the cerebellum. Hear me? And hear me well. When someone is going through something, you don't beat them upside the head. You let them go through what they're going through. And then when the time is right, key word, operative word, when the time is right, key words, operative words, when the time is right, then you address what you need to address. And when you do it, be a grown man and a grown woman about it. Again, at that time, you're still not beating the person upside the head. You can still be truthful. You can still be tactful. And you can still be responsible on how you say it and still get your message across. You're not sugarcoating it. You're not wavering away from your message, but you make sure you do it in a way to where the person can understand where you're coming from and it's not coming from a place of disrespect. Then the person's going to get the message. But he already has Errol Spence Sr. for that. He already has his mom for that. And he has his self because he has to do self-reflection for that. So why does he need He Knows His Sport or anybody else to do that? You see what I'm saying? So this is what I meant. This is why I made this video a little longer, because, you know, the thing when He Knows His Sport, he's a deep thinker out here. He Knows His Sport is a three-dimensional thinker. So a lot of times I'm always in this 303 lane, and I forget sometimes that I have to bring shit down to the lamest terms. Even for those that supposedly think they got a brain, I have to bring it down to the lamest terms. Let me say it again. Even for those that supposedly think they have a brain and think they understand He Knows His Sport, which I'm what you call ununderstandable. Let me say it again. I'm ununderstandable. You can't understand me. I'm too difficult to understand. I'm what you call a unquestionable enigma. So good luck with trying to figure me out. That's not going to work. The only person who has me figured out is God. Let me say it again. The only person that has me figured out is God. But nobody on this planet has me figured out. And you will never have me figured out. Just when you think you have me figured out, boom, something else is messing you up. So for those who think they have what I said in the earlier videos figured out, you're lost. This is why I tell people, you lost the message, you didn't get it. Because for those who got it, that means they're deep thinkers. That means that they got some brain power there. That means that their neuron receptors are firing on all cylinders. That's the truth of the fact of the matter. This is He Knows Sport. Checking out.